Michał Suski, welcome to the ROI Online Podcast.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to have you, Michał, because in the world that you hang out, you've got this really cool tool called Surfer SEO. My problem is it has SEO in the name. And let me tell you why. I run an agency. I work with clients. But you know what I think about SEO? I think SEO is snake oil. I think that most business owners have been bitten by someone selling them SEO snake oil, SEO, SEO, SEO. And I think it's wrong. What do you say?
The surfer.com domain was taken when we figured out the name. That's what I will tell you. We always wanted to be called Surfer, not Surfer SEO. But if you have a domain, Surfer SEO, what can you expect, right? It's the same case as with the Majestic. They were Majestic SEO and now they are Majestic. But unfortunately, Surfer is Australian magazine for surfers, so we can't buy them.
So tell me about why Surfer. Why did you want to name it Surfer?
Good question. I should ask my brother, who is a co-founder, technical co-founder of Surfer. And we were playing with different acronyms and so on. But this name resonated. Like, it's something. It's fun. Surfing is fun, even though I haven't surfed in my life. I know that surfing is fun, is a game, is something pleasing, is a relaxation. So can you name one thing that comes to your mind after hearing word surfer that is negative?
No, that's an excellent point. Here's why I have you on the podcast today, Michał. You know, the folks that listen to this podcast, they're business owners, they're marketing directors, they're folks that are trying to compete and connect with their clients online. And that ultimately leads to writing content. And your backstory is you're actually someone that started off in this industry as a content writer, as a copywriter.
Yeah, and the lowest tier, I can tell you, that was the PBNs, really bad kind of quality content, the citations building, 10 times the same business description, unique kind of, that hurts, but that's the backstory. And after a few 2 years, maybe, after the first article written, we turned into creating guidelines and optimizing content instead of just throwing words at the page. And it turned out it was a good decision, but I guess we will circle back to it.
So tell the listeners why it's so offensive, or why you're kind of you feel yucky about that form of content production.
Because it has no readers except the Google bot. It's like, Sisyphean works. You write the content and no one is reading, so you are getting frustrated. And it's not really pleasing job to write content that no one reads.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I hate this, the term SEO, because it's so misused. But what I love about your tool Surfer SEO, is that it recognizes successful patterns in great content, and it informs you to write more for humans than it does to please Google.
Yeah, that was the goal. And you know what? While you please Google, but with benchmarking the top 10 ranking pages, you are already incorporating positive behavioral signals, because in the top 10, in the top 5, Google already incorporated people's satisfaction. So if you benchmark them, even though you write for Google, you write for the people, because Google, in the end, want people to read, get information, and be happy about the results they find. So it's kind of connected, writing for Google and writing for humans. That's for sure.
So tell us, so you had this agency and you were writing content, and one day it dawned on you that, we're making this tools, other people could take advantage of it. Tell us about that backstory.
Yeah. So I was hired as an intern. So that wasn't my agency at all. I was just hired by my friend. This is kind of cool story because the agency was founded in a 300-ish people village. So all of the cars in the village were like belonging to the agency employees. And
this is in Poland.
Yeah, here in this studio, it's the same place as 4 years ago. What was the question?
No, you started off as an intern.
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. So I was an intern there and trying to learn SEO, really. And it turned out that it is, quite easy if you test, if you learn, if you are open-minded and pay attention to changing environment. So I climbed up these, ladders for a few years, and it turned out that I finished as the head of SEO, and along with the agency's founder and still my friend and business partner, we decided, okay, let's try to scale up without hiring people, because you remember 300-ish village, no cities around, no one to hire. Digital marketing, what the hell is this? SEO? Is it a car? Is it a car part or whatever, right? Really no one to hire. So we had to scale up our processes. And with the same amount of people, trained people, we managed to take more clients because of data-driven decisions in terms of content, mostly. So how to create the article that will, find these positive benchmarks and will please both Google and the reader. So we built tool for ourselves. That's how the Surfer was built. Like scratch your own itch, they say.
So you build this tool, and there was a learning process there. But what is it that when you're building this tool, you saw something wrong with how everyone was doing it? And what was the exact thing you were trying to fix?
We are trying to fix guesswork. You can make it that simple definition, but the guesswork was coming from time-consuming process of obtaining that information. Because imagine yourself Googling a keyword you want to rank for, then analyzing top 10 ranking pages, like how much content do they have? That's easy. I can Control-A, Control-C, Control-V, blah, 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 count it, put it in the Excel. But how many headings? What type of headings? How many keywords? Which keywords? Only the exact keyword, or maybe there are some surrounding topics. Maybe there are some questions. Maybe they used some specific image alts that send some strong signals to Google to rank them. And it was so time consuming that people decided, okay, let's do backlinks. Let's do backlinks. It works. We know how it works. We got these PBNs. We can throw like 100 backlinks, not enough. Let's throw 200. Let's throw 500. We still got the budget, so let's do it. It was still easier to make up bad content with different stuff like backlinks, because obtaining and analyzing information that is there in Google gives us a lot of information, but it is hard to digest it. It was still much easier, and we decided, okay, let's go upstream and let's try to fix the process of obtaining and analyzing data from the top 10 ranking pages in Google to get these benchmarks, to get these positive patterns, to find out, like, to remove the guesswork, really. So let's write every single article 300 words. it makes no sense, because one article should be really a short definition and the other should be an essay. So you need to be data driven to allocate your resources. So that was the pain, really. Guesswork was the biggest, and is still the biggest pain of SEO. That's why you see this snake oil, you name it. That's why there is a snake oil, because it's a guesswork, because it's a kind of associated with magic and, this shady stuff.
Yes, guesswork is like when you're a marketer and you're relying on guesswork, you're relying on one person to hopefully be guessing the right way. But you and I know the odds are you're not guessing the right way. And so when people go, well, this blogging, it's just not working, or the social media posts, it just doesn't work, they get frustrated. But the problem is it's all based on guesses.
Yeah, and you've got so many decisions to make, like what to write about, what to internally link it with, what would be the target length, what are the topics to cover within the same article, what are the target topics that I need to create a separate piece for. These are all crazy things that, make you really headache. And yeah, that's the problem we solve.
So, I think that when you find successful entrepreneurs, successful business owners, what they do is they recognize some pattern that informs them of how to successfully bring a solution to that, whether it's a plumber, whether it's a restaurant. They recognize patterns, and then they go, oh, this pattern is telling me this is what the people are preferring. And when I recognized what your tool does is it just goes out and informs you, look, these are the patterns that are successful. This is how we recommend you do this. And I was showing one of my clients how this goes, and this was his words. Oh, you're using science to inform you of a successful pattern.
Exactly. Machine learning, AI algorithms, it's all in the place to help you remove the guesswork and increase the odds of making the right decision. Because, well, even though you are supported with Surfer or any other tool that will try to recognize these patterns, there are still other patterns that can skew the data, like SERP volatility. So the results can be shuffled by Google, like without, notice. Like they do not do the prior notice. Okay, we are going to do a broad core update, blah, blah, blah. They do when it rolls. So you can always have an update tomorrow, and the guidelines from today, well, they won't be that accurate, right? But if you do it at scale, if you do it with the regular pace, consistent, then in 90% cases, you will be right, which is enough to bring the positive ROI of your actions.
I always, people ask me, they go, well, Steve, why are you so anti-SEO? And it's like, well, if you and I had let's say we had a little league team of kids, and we're going to teach them baseball, and we're going to meet and have a baseball game. So we would spend the month teaching them all the basic rules of the game. And then when you show up, the ref or the umpire is going to call the game by the rules. But when you're talking about Google, you show up to the game, and then that day they say, oh, the rules are changed. Yeah. And you invested all this time and energy in thinking that you were like scheming and going to really trick Google, and then Google changes the rules. What do?
You are up to date, really. I mean, this manual process of gathering information, it's that time consuming, so you can't actually implement changes quick enough. Because if it takes a week to understand patterns for a specific keyword, I'm not talking niche, keyword, a single article, right? Then you've got 100 articles like this to cover, then it turns out that you can revisit every 2 years. That's way too long, right? If you when you have like updates 3 times a year or 3 times a month sometimes, but with these solutions in place, you can really react quickly. So there was an update, and then in the next week you can prepare adjustments to every single article of yours. That will be easy to implement because, well, you see what's left to do. So it's a hard game with Google, but you can help yourself a little.
Yeah, I think it's unfair in that you have, the businesses we help. I was blown away by the stat that 98% of the businesses in the US they have 20 or less employees. And when you think about it, you think about that business owner, they don't have time to study Google. They don't have time to do all of this investigation. They have to run a business. They have to manage their employees. And it's not fair because they have to compete against companies that have armies of marketers.
Man, it was hard for me to stay up to date, even though I was the SEO specialist. It was hard for me to follow because the clients calling, because the optimizations, backlinks to build, blah, blah, blah. Even though I was dedicated 100% to SEO, it was a struggle to be always up to date. And for the business owners, well, I can't find the way they can be up to date. Even today, I talked to a CEO of a startup, and he was talking to me about, we were discussing SEO. I'm thinking at some point, why the hell you talk to me? You should be running your business.
Yes. Yeah. And so the beauty of what your tool does all of that science, all of that calculation, all of that investigation, and it can quickly empower my content writer, take that time that I invested in them to create a piece of content that needs to work for me from now on and make it the most valuable piece of content it can be at that moment.
Yeah, that's how it works. Basically, you provided a great description. Thank you for that. What I wanted to add, that was really, you nailed it.
Yeah, you think about, why do you write a piece of content? You write a piece of content because it becomes this digital salesperson that's going to stand there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week from now on. And it's going to stand there very politely, always going to look nice. It doesn't have bad breath. And when someone shows up and is interested in it, it does the best job representing you. And it says, and by the way, you can find more right over here.
I'm sold. I'm sold with these definitions because they are so true. They are so true. You build this evergreen piece of content, and if you do it right with the information that does not get outdated, then you will stay there forever, and your position will be stronger and stronger over time. You are not getting weaker; you are getting stronger actually with time. So the only risk for such investment is changing information and changing user intent. So that's the only risk. But well, you can adjust if you get a notice, and you can get a notice. So it's not a bad allocation of your time, really. Without this SEO consultation, I would even say that you can do SEO without doing SEO.
Exactly.
You can get organic traffic, because that's the goal of SEO. Give you organic traffic. It's not about monitoring positions. It's not about trends, changing numbers, blah, blah, blah. It's all about how many visitors you can get every month from Google. And you don't have to do SEO, but you just need to create a few pieces of content that will be optimize using these guidelines from Google. So Google will tell you what to write about to be better than these guys that are there already. So there is all information in place, and you can start getting that traffic without doing SEO. This is great.
We would write blogs and people would go, well, I don't think this is working. And it's, I don't know if you write a blog, you can realistically expect that blog could introduce someone to your website once a day, 3 times a day, 5 times a day, depending upon how well that blog is written. Mm-hmm. And when you're just guessing at what you should write, then I can understand why you say, I don't think blogging works. But I think if you take advantage of your tool and you approach it the right way, then you're increasing the value of that investment of creating that blog.
The worst thing about blogging is when you have a brand new domain and you really need to be patient at that point, because it won't reward you. You won't get any rewards for like 3 to 6 months. That's a minimum if you are targeting like moderate competitive keywords. But if you are already getting some traffic from Google, so you are established, they already recognize you, they give you some crawl budget to read your pages, actually, it is so easy to get more and more and actually start the snowball effect that you don't have to wait long. You sometimes after you optimize one of your pages, it will be no more than 24 hours to see great results. So this is kind of, I don't like about SEO that you don't have to be the best. You have to be in terms of content. If you have a right domain, you can take over everything. Literally, take a look at Wikipedia. Do they have the best content? Hell no. The same about Amazon. Do they have the best products? No. There are many better products on the web that are not available on Amazon, yet you will see Amazon in every single search category because they are Amazon. So that's kind of unfair from Google, but you can take it down with patience and with regular publications, and being patient for a couple of months. You can definitely get there.
So most people want to get a tool and then have it analyze their domain and tell them what to fix on their domain. That's kind of low-hanging fruit type thing. But what I like about your tool is got the content planner. Now you think about a marketing director, the key to success is having a really good strategy. But the problem is, where do I start on planning the content? So your content planner, what I really loved about it, we're a HubSpot shop. We're a HubSpot value-added reseller, but they have a tool in there. It's called the Pillar Page Planner, right? And so when I studied, I'm going, this is great, but you have to write a lot of content. You have to have a good strategy, and that's where a big hurdle is. But when you look at your tool and you go in and you put in your topic in that content planner, it goes through and brings out a recommendation in order of priority, all the topics you should write about.
And there's quite a bit of science inside, because it was possible only after figuring out that one of our developers actually studied data science. And it's based on these clustering algorithms borrowed directly from science. And why is it so successful is because it analyzes how Google wants to get these keywords answered. And there is this simple algorithm. Imagine there is a piece of content and it ranks for 2 keywords. On a first glance, you will say, okay, these keywords aren't related. These keywords are apart. And then you look, okay, Google ranked 2 different keywords with the same piece of content, meaning that you can answer 2 questions with the same really answer. And if you analyze these patterns of which questions should be answers with the same sentence as an answer, you can understand what Google wants to be ranked together and what Google wants to be ranked separately. So you actually end up with a list of topics that are groups of keywords you will be targeting with a one article. So you got one group of core topics, one article, another group of topics, another article, up to 100, 200, depending on the niche size you put into the content planner. So I hope that it explains a little why it actually makes sense to do it this way.
Yeah, it's really smart. And the pillar strategy is extremely smart, but the problem is writing prolific content to go into that pillar. And so your content planner solves that problem. And then what's beautiful, for each cluster, there's a content editor that can inform you how to write that specific article for each of those, what you call clusters.
So we are like moving to this whole streamlined process that starts with no guesswork ideation with help of science, and we move to executing that strategy again without guesswork with data-driven decisions. So once we decided that, okay, here are those 20, 50, 100, whatever topics, and we start here because this is one of the most common topics among our competitors. This is the second, the third, and so on. So we write with the order. So we've got a content calendar, by the way, ready. Then we move to executing every single piece with the information like what are the entities, the words and phrases, things you can name that should be mentioned within the article to make it complete, to make it comprehensive, to make the information so you get all you need basically to answer, to fulfill the topic. You get the length, you get the structure, you get number of media images and so on. And basically the writer is equipped with everything that is needed to satisfy the demand, as demand was analyzed deeply on many angles. And then the writer gets empowerment, you said it this way, empowerment to actually do this task.
To be an editor, not just a writer, but an editor. And I'm sorry I'm interrupting, but it's like what happens with my writers is they go through, imagine a writer having to write about a common topic for a month. So every day they show up and they're supposed to be creative, inspired, and write a good article. That's impossible. It's not a proper expectation. And your tool removes that reality and it turns them into something more valuable. An editor, they need to make sure that it connects with a human instead of trying to be a robot themselves.
Yeah, and it's even more true after we added some AI writing assistants because, the content just has to be written, and there are some words and phrases that just have to be there and no one doubts. You just need an introduction, you need to mention specific topics, and then you need a conclusion. But with this AI help, the writer is not focused on actually typing, is not focused on making this 2,000 words mark. He is or she is focused on making this piece unique, creative, and actually sounding like me or sounding like the person who ordered this piece of content. So it has the right message, it has the right call to action, it builds this tension, and the reader can actually feel the story. And this is great feeling when you can change someone from a writer, which is lower tier, to the editor, who is definitely someone with more how would you name it? What they get, more of what? And I'm not just talking wages.
No, they get fulfillment because they're
Yeah.
creating something. No one loves. There was a study where they did that. They had these kids sit down and they make little origami characters. And so they said, we're going to pay you $1 for each character that you make. And they wanted to see how many characters they would make on average. And so they did it. They took those little animals and they put them aside. Then you know what they did? They did it again. And so when the kid got finished, they would take it apart and just stack the paper right there. On average, the kids did way less of the animals because they saw the futility in the creation that they were making. Okay. And what you're resolving is that futility in creating content no one is going to read or care about.
This is deep and really eye-opening. And it's a great feeling, you can help people achieve that fulfillment. I didn't know that.
Yeah. No, but that's the deeper value of the tool that you're doing. So talk to us about NLP, natural language processing. Why is that a big deal in your tool?
So first, Google introduced it as a competitive edge against us. I mean, this snake oil, right? The snake oil SEOs were building like crappy pages, filling it with links, and they were ranking up to a certain moment. And the certain moment came when Google introduced BERT algorithm that was using natural language processing. And what was the goal? The goal of that was to understand the user intention of search term and the answer, if it is really answering that question, if it's meeting the intention. And Google had this advantage over the snake oil SEOs because they couldn't create crappy pages anymore. But that was tricky because some good pages were taken down as well because they weren't mentioning these entities. And what are the entities? This is the most important element of this whole NLP thing. So entity is something you can name, basically. It's something Google can recognize, add some context. When you are traveling to Paris, you will see Eiffel Tower, and Eiffel Tower is an entity in Paris. And of course, many other elements. But in general, this is what the entity is. And we, as Surfer, decided to implement the same algorithm Google introduced in BERT to measure which entities are the most meaningful to the articles we are analyzing. Because in the past, we were just crossing these pieces of content, finding the words that were occurring commonly on the top 10 pages. That was okay, but that was simple math. With the NLP, we could start understanding the content the same way Google understands it and actually tell you what are these entities you can't miss to get understood by Google. So this is the biggest advantage of NLP that is baked into SEO tools, because it allows you to focus on the right things. You can say you've been to Paris in many ways, but you need to mention the right entities to actually provide the information that will be ultimately recognized by the bot. So that's the NLP in short.
Perfect. You know what you really have nailed, or there's this, when we talk about story, there's this tension in I I'm a human. I live in a physical world, but we have to have a platform in a digital world. And it's in this environment that Google controls. So therefore, we have to show up and communicate in that technology way to Google to take advantage of that environment and yet remain human.
Yeah. This is crazy. This is crazy. And it was supposed to help us. And then we are, doing something against our nature to
Yes,
actually communicate not the natural way, but communicate the way that will be understood not only by humans, but also by robots.
there you go.
This is crazy.
And that's why snake oil always fails, because most people miss the point and they just want to please Google and they chase Google around. I say this in my book, like some paparazzi hoping to get a selfie with Google, and Google doesn't care about you.
Yeah, it will throw some traffic at you at first until they discover you are fake. And when you are fake, you lose. And you lose more than you were doing nothing. So but now you are, they are at Google. They are even more sophisticated at penalizing snake oil. They are just ignoring them.
Shadow
So
banning them, yeah.
yeah, there won't be like you got a penalty, you need to recover. What kind of penalty? There's no penalty. You just get no traffic. That's your penalty, and it's like a shadow ban on a forum. This some person will type bad things, and he will get a shadow ban, and still typing, thinking that he can make the difference, but in fact, no one cares. No one cares. You are out, and you can't be back, and that's actually even stronger because you don't know what caused the problem, and the penalty like rolls silently and then you die slowly. So they are good at this, really eliminating.
This is a great segue because this is a part of the conversation where I want to ask you like 4 or 5 questions. I did a little research for it. People are wanting to know these, so they want to know your answer. Okay, so you ready?
Yeah, bring it on.
All right. How to cheat Google SEO.
You can build AI content in seconds and put it on your website and get impressions in your Google Search Console skyrocketing. But if you don't add this human piece to these articles, they will go down when they get traffic. So cheating is not the way to build like a foundation of your business.
Amen, brother. All right. Next, how to write a good description for SEO.
Google what's ranking right now, and you will find out what's the good description. Google is the best at providing answers.
So just in the other people searched, or that little, the drop down where it's trying to discern your intent of the search?
Yeah, just reverse engineer what Google tells you. This is the strongest tool we have, because we all got access to Google. And if we do reverse engineering the right way, so benchmark the competitors, see related questions, read people also ask questions and meet these needs, that's the best description.
Excellent.
Of any problem.
How to make money off of SEO.
Casino and all the shady niches. I mean, I'm not doing it, but people who do it have the fattest wallets, really. But you can make it in the right way, like even SEO content writing, SEO optimization, consultancy. These are all cool. But if you want the big, bold goals, casino, or like, this pills, weight loss, if you have no well, you can go blindly and follow where the money is, really. But that's not something I admire.
I agree. So how important are blogs to SEO?
The topical authority is the key here, because if you can provide information, you can become trustworthy source of information. And along with blogs, there comes rankings for the product pages, for the money pages, no matter if you are e-commerce or a service page, even the plumber. Imagine a situation when the plumber helps you via search to fix your leaking toilet. And who will you call the next time when you can't fix it? You will call him because he helped you already. So blogging is top number one research you should be utilizing with your SEO 100%.
So how much do SEO content writers make?
It depends on the niche. You can be like a quick writer, super fast, AI-driven content with lower price per word, or you can be a high-end, really the best writer in the industry. But in general, either way, actually, if you scale up the right way with the AI, or if you will position yourself as a specialist, you can make as much as the SEO specialists make. It's not like the content writer can't get the money like the other specialists. I think like 100K a year is definitely achievable for a writer that is specialized well.
So there's this thing that goes on with writers. So I think you guys made a really good relationship with Jarvis AI, Jarvis.ai. And that's how I learned about you was we had signed up with Jarvis. And so when you think about content writers, they're really good content writers. But I think that it's hard for them to consider utilizing a tool like Jarvis and Surfer SEO to complement their writing. It's something about maybe they can't conceive how to take advantage of artificial intelligence, and why would I even want to do that? It doesn't make sense. I have to change the way I go about writing. What is your answer to that question?
That people who do not utilize AI will extinct from the market. And I mean, unfortunately or not, I don't know. But in general, it's getting better and better. And fine-tuning algorithms, there is something like that. I mean, it's not there yet, but it's very close. These fine-tuned algorithms can learn from your portfolio what kind of writer are you, and they can produce content based on that huge input from your portfolio. So I see the future of that as everyone can has its own personalized Jarvis, its own Jarvis trained on his own. Like Jarvis could probably read your book and be like you with his outputs. And no doubt this is coming, and people who can't understand it or don't want to understand it will have trouble on the market with competing with people who actually get this done right and set up.
Yeah, that's kind of hard to think about. I'm curious, how much content do you think that we read every day online that is produced by artificial intelligence or supplemented?
Oh, this number is definitely growing, and we don't know, and we will never know. And what's even funnier, Google doesn't care about it if it's human or AI written, unless the user intent and the user satisfaction is in place. Because, well, why Google will care about the author of the piece of content, I mean, if it's supported by AI or not, if the visitors are seeing this article, reading, getting the information they want, and leaving happy. So why would they care? It's even better for them if the information can be built without the hassle. Like writing is like, you got these car manufacturers, right? And there are robots inside. In the past, it was all done by human, and the same situation is here in digital marketing. It is just the way to stay on the line and control the robot instead of be the robot, right? That's the transformation we are facing.
Yeah, I think you have to realize that either you make the robot support you, or the robot is managing you.
Yeah.
And the way to do it is like to get in there and figure it out and make the robot work for you instead of you work as a robot or work for the robot.
Yeah, because you will never be able to compete with the pace of the robot. If a robot can get good enough to produce, let's say, 5 cents per word quality copy, so relatively low quality copy, if they can do it, then there is no chance that human can compete. The price will drop for that quality content. And if people can't, take the role and become a robot supervisor, that would be a hard time.
That's interesting. Go from doing the work to supervising the robot. That makes sense.
That's okay, right?
Yeah.
You become an editor, really. You just take the output, you look at this, you add the human factor, and there you go. It's like a promotion, really. Writer and the editor is higher.
Yeah, totally. Totally, because the robot is not human, and it's going to make mistakes. And I think that's the first thing that these folks get caught up on is, oh, see, it made a mistake. It's no good. No, that's your job. Just correct the stupid mistakes that it made, but let it do all the minutia.
You know what? I got 2 funny things related to AI that is writing content. The first one is that I am having so much fun while the robot is trying to figure out fake name of the companies, fake people with the fake quotes. It's really, it's extremely funny when I read those outputs. It's getting crazy. But I saw another one, and it will be a literal example, because we were analyzing like how to shave your head, right? And the robot just had to prepare instructions based on what he read. So there was an original instruction that you need some sort of like foam, then you need to sharpen the razor, blah, blah, blah. And the robot's output was like, this is so funny. Shave the top of your head, then shave the back of your head, and then use the same razor and shave sides of your head. That was his outputs. 3 points of how to shave your head. So I wouldn't be that much afraid of robots taking over the world like tomorrow. But we need to be prepared, and it is just the right moment to start getting familiar with these things. And well, don't doubt it's never coming. It's coming, and we need to prepare.
All right. So what's one question that I didn't ask that you would love to answer?
Beer or wine?
Both.
Oh, okay. Red or white?
Red.
All right. Dry or sweet?
More dry.
Okay, cool. We are friends. That was 3 questions, but totally improvised.
So, Michał, if someone's been listening and they really like what they're hearing and they want to know more, what's the best way to connect, take advantage of? What do you recommend?
Yeah, let's keep it professional and keep it to the LinkedIn, I guess. Mm-hmm. It feels like the best place to connect. Of course, we are all living in sort of Facebook, taking over our social kind of presence in internet. So you can always find me on Facebook, but to keep it professional, I would say that LinkedIn. I'm there as Michał Suski, so you can find me there. I'm happy to assist.
Yeah. And it's surferseo.com, right?
Exactly. surferseo.com.
And there you can learn all about Michal's tool. It's an excellent tool. If you're a writer, I really encourage you. You need to check it out. They've got some really great deals. You should, I think you need to kind of complement it with the Jarvis.ai. I think it's like that. I'm curious why, and this is my last question, and
Yeah.
but why did you guys really connect with Jarvis so quick? And
This is so easy. People from Jarvis asked Dave if they can have Surfer inside, and people from Surfer asked us if they can have Jarvis AI, conversion AI at this time, in the Surfer. So we were like, okay, let's reach out, and we had one call with Dave, and it turned out that Jarvis people want Surfer and Surfer people want Jarvis. So what else could we do? 28 hours after this first call, the implementation was done and people were already using the combination of tools.
Yeah.
So there was demand. They wanted it and we delivered.
Yeah, that was excellent. A great idea. And I think both companies are excellent. I like the culture. I like the message. And I like how everything is trying to make things as human as possible to really connect with humans.
Yep.
Michał Suski, you've been an excellent guest on the ROI Online Podcast.
Thank you so much. And I hope it will all bring you positive ROI. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. And that's a wrap.